Here comes Christ the King. Dakasan here. I got the new Christ the King emblem, all right, on the bike. Like I had the armor of God on the Fat Boy. Now I've got the Christ the King is the base piece. I'm going to do a quick overview of all the steps, and then I'll show you the steps. I'll make two videos, one of just doing this and one of like when I had to do the forks. Now I know why they charge over $600 to do front forks. It's a lot of labor. About how to take off the inner fairing as well as the outer fairing to expose the fork tubes and everything else there. So the first step is you take off the 3 screws here, take off the windshield and the bags in my case, put the center screw back. That is a critical step. If not, when you're taking the bolts from the inside here, this might just fall off. So you put that screw back. Second, you're going to take off of these because as you're trying to wrestle, once this is loose, these will get the way. If you don't have the fog lights, that's not a step. On the side, there are 2 nuts. Once you get them off, this will come off. There are 2 wire connectors. That'll just disconnect and you've done each side. Then you can do the screws on the inside, one here, and the same on the other side. When that's all done, then you come back here while you're in front. Then you take the screw out, the fairing drops. It's got 1 electrical connection to the headlight. That's off. You can work on the fairing, do whatever you want. So here I mocked up so I wouldn't forget the screws based on length. So again, 2, the second longest. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 4s are for the wind deflectors, which you don't have to take off if you're doing any work. And then the silver wedge are for the fairing piece, and they're those. So that's what I was referencing. I'm going to go over them. First is to take off the fairing. You start with taking off the windshield. You got your 3 bolts. This is the longest of the 3. After you take out all 3 bolts, take your windshield off. I had a little bag there, windshield bag. Take that off. Put this bolt back in. On the touring models, we have the running lights here on the side. So we need to get those off. Those are simple half-inch nuts, I'm sorry, that are right here and one slightly higher. But you just take those off. Then it has 2 wires that you'll disconnect, snap, snap, they're off. So to do the outer fairing, we have our 3 bolts here at the windshield. We put the top one back. Then there are 2 bolts here, one here and one here. This is the longest. It's longer than this one here in the center. All right, I actually made a little paper and I marked them. And then you take these off. If you don't put this one back on top, when you take these off, suddenly the outer fairing is just going to fall off. Now that I've got both of these out, now I can take this screw out a second time. There it is. And you can see the difference. I said the long ones. All right, that, and then the third one are these. So you see 3 different lengths. So Just paying attention to that one. Now this will just fall off. It will be caught by the headlight click. But to get this off, you do need this, or else you're fighting those lamps on the side. So we got those off, all right? So I started by 3 bolts, windshield off, center bolt back. Took the 2 lamps off the side, got the wires, disconnected them, did the 4 bolts on the inside, then came back here, took the center bolt, dealt with the headlamp switch, and now this is done. Pause. All right, so looking at the Christ the King brake and setting this right in here. This thing has 3 hole points and little that the screws go through that'll sit it up. It's got a little USB plug in, and I'll work on that, routing that, but just kind of getting the center and stuff. So just a preview is gonna look like. What I've got to do is then lay it down and drill my 3 holes, which always makes me nervous to drill holes because you can't undo a hole. All right, and hi, Louie. All right, I'm going to try to train him so he can ride the bike with us. He's our boy's dog. So say hi, Louie. You're famous now. All right, I'll cut back to you in a moment.
Okay.
So to help make sure I'm keeping everything lined up with each one, I'm setting the spacer right through the hole and going through that. All right, so that I know I'm set. You already see 2 done. And this is the paranoid part. You know, you can't undo a hole. So, getting a screw.
Where's my rat blood? Hey, mister, where are you?
Our boy is looking for his hot dog. And one of the things about cutting, drilling, is you have to know what's on the other side. So in this case, there's nothing on the other side. There's plenty of space between this and the inner fairing. So I was able to make those holes. Now I'll just throw some washers and nuts on that. And on this, I'll come back and I'll paint these black so they get hidden. The wire, I can either, you know, pop this out and try to shove it through there, but I think I'm just gonna leave it a little bit exposed there. This is kind of glued in, and obviously the wire may be thin, but the plug for it is very big, and I'm not gonna make a big hole to try to shove it. So leaving it like that, it'll just pinch it a little bit, but I can, you know, shave away a little bit and make it quasi disappear. Maybe even paint this a little black. We'll see. So we'll continue on, but that's not a crisis. So putting this back on, like I said, I'm gonna slide this, if I can handle it, through here, and then I'll end up routing it through this space that I'll have access to. And then I'm actually going to plug it in so you can see it. This is going to be entertaining. So let me put, there we go. I got the, so let's go see what it looks like in front when it's on. All right, I'll put that into accessory. But there's that. Deal with the thing. And again, when you're putting it back on, you set it top screw first. Top screw first always. Hold that in place. Then we deal with the sidebars. All right. And then we deal with the screws that go here and here. Then we can take this out, put the windshield back. All right, so to bore you with those steps, come back in a second. All right, so putting the outer fairing back on, again, you have a long and a short screw. The long screw does go at the top spot, because right there is where it starts to catch. So you can see how much travel it's got to go. If I can get it to catch. There it comes. And then this one goes right down here to catch. And so as my son, the engineer, would say, gluten tight. So you don't have to worry about torque specs. And now that that's on, all of these can be tightened, and then we can put the windshield back. Awesome. All right, yes, I did forget to attach the headlight, but I took it back down, put the headlight on, and now everything is on there. So turn signals work and everything else. But the wire I ran through the fairing. All right, this one happens to come out here, and it's just a USB plug. And so rather than spending $30 more on a, you know, the Harley USB connection, you know, because this will turn the 12 volts into USB, I had an extra cigarette lighter, and since the cigarette lighter plug, and since I'm not using it, the fairing already has a USB that goes to the radio, and that sits in here. So I'm not using that. All right, so that's it. So Daka-san, hope you enjoyed the two videos. All right, the short one on just Christ the King, and the long one on dealing with the inner fairing if you have to take that off. All right, Daka-san out. Here comes Christ the King.